This is Rudy Giuliani, and of course, this is America's Mayor Live. Unfamiliar surroundings, correct? But here we are. Here we are in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, my my home where I was born. I was born, of course, in Flatbush, but I'm here at Mike's house, and he's allowed us to come after my very interesting session in court. I don't know. I thought the other night when Trump won, the lawfare thing was over, but I forgot. Well, in any event, I may say a few things about that. I mean, the whole thing was public today, so nothing secret about it. Nothing secret at all about it, except for the fact that the jury in the District of Columbia, without my being allowed to put in a defense under penalty of really contempt, awarded 135, 145 million to two plaintiffs who I don't remember if they showed any damages, but I sure can tell you it wasn't 145 million. And these cases are usually, where you hear somebody got $90 million and they slipped and fell and whatever. They're widely, discredited as, even when they believe that there was some harm done. There's nobody in the world that believes that this is a $145 million case without it being a case of political vindictiveness. Of course, there wasn't $145,000 worth of anything involved in it. Nor do I think, and Ted was there at the trial, I don't know if there was any proof put in about any monetary damages at all. So the case is on appeal. And they want to take all of my property. Not all, almost all. I mean, like, it just seized another bank account, so I'll be glad to buy groceries next week. I mean, they actually seized my Social Security account. I had to get it unseized. The lawyers who started this case, the lawyer who started this case was Joe Biden's law partner and a lawyer for the infamous Burisma company that was the source of the bribes to Joe, Hunter, and of course the president of the Ukraine. So you can get an idea. It's funded through some kind of a left-wing activist group, as are many of these cases harassing lawyers. They're sponsored. The two cases that involved my being disbarred, these were complaints from people that had nothing to do with the cases. They were just two political activists who wrote up the complaints. This is a travesty of justice. And even if the judge wants to take kind of a neutral position, any judge looking at $145 million verdict and then taking a brief look at the fact that there was no trial, there was no ability to testify on damages, and a million other things, would say, well, at least there's a chance this man may win on appeal. So why are they going to go sell his property, some of which has sentimental value, extraordinary sentimental value, like my grandfather's watch, Rodolfo's watch, or things given to me by September 11 people, or soldiers. I'm not much on money. I've made a lot of money, and obviously now I've lost a lot of money, and it doesn't really affect me, who I am, at all. So this isn't a battle over money. This is a battle over the American justice system, which they have completely destroyed. And when I say they, I mean all of these cases. And I do not want to present myself as the biggest victim by any means. First of all, I haven't been convicted of the crimes yet that they want to convict me of. I don't know. If they put me away for the rest of my life, I might be the biggest victim. They're trying to do that for being a lawyer. And at some point, doesn't it have to stop? I mean, you really know what happened, don't you? Come on. You really think I made up all that stuff about the elections? I mean, my whole life I've been a lawyer, and have been proven true, every time. And nobody prosecuted more effective cases than me in the last century. Nobody ever turned around a city the way I did. And all of a sudden, I'm going to start lying about this. Then it turns out that when things get resolved, after having defamed me, I'm telling the truth, like Russian collusion. Who was lying about that? All of them. The ones that are behind this case, this $145 million case, the ones supplying the money for it, and the ones who were behind the prosecution of me. And when I said there was a hard drive that contained powerful evidence of 30 years of bribery to Joe Biden, I was accused of being a Russian agent by Biden and all these people and all those intelligence people. I turned out to be telling the truth. They turned out to be liars. They're the ones behind the cases against me. You don't think the Bidens hate me? If it weren't for me, there's a really good chance none of this would have come out. Would you say that's true, Ted? Am I exaggerating that?
Not at all.
Read the book, Biden Crime Family. It's out there now. Go read it. I'm not trying to boast. I'm not trying to do anything other than see if we can get ourselves back to a just system. And I would say that it would be a fair statement to say that at least you don't see a clear path to how this would have gotten out had I not had the guts to do it. I'll say something else. My unwillingness to back down to them, despite the fact that they are threatening to take from me every earthly belonging that I have, and certainly the ones that mean the most to me, that I can't replace with money. But that's not going to get me to back down, because I'm not going to lie for them. Some people did. I'm shocked at it. Some of them are my colleagues, and boy, oh boy, they decided to kiss you know what. But I couldn't live with myself if I did. And isn't that consistent with what I've done in the rest of my career? And then take a look at what they've done in the rest of their career. I mean, Joe's been a crook all his life. The guy got thrown out of the election in 1988 for being a pathological liar. I didn't get thrown out of an election for being, I got beat by John McCain. Well, let's get up to date, because the House is the big one. The Senate looks like it's going to be 53, because thank goodness McCormick was just picked over Casey. I think we still have Arizona to go, but that increasingly is looking Democrat, right? Has that been called yet? We have a chance there?
I believe so.
Good, because I mean, I think Kerry Lake is one of the best people in the Republican Party, and I also don't understand. I would have her teach how to be a candidate. She's sharp, she's smart, she's attractive, she is relevant. She hits all of the issues that we're most affected by, that ended up in a very dominating victory for Donald Trump. And she's been, struggling behind President Trump, which isn't bad, because all these guys are going to be behind him. I mean, to say he isn't the leader of the party would be stupid. I don't think any one of these Senate candidates outpolled him. He pulled them all in. Some almost. I mean, Rogers almost, Hovde almost. You don't know what goes wrong in all those cases. But this is pretty extraordinary. The most we've ever had in our history as a party is 55 members, since we became the party to oppose the vicious, evil party of slavery called the Democrats. We were established, you remember. Us garbage and deplorables and racist. We were established on our opposition to slavery. And I think we bore the major brunt of the white men who died to free black men, meaning Republicans. I think the Democratic Party was more strongly represented on the other side, fighting and killing other white men to try to keep black men enslaved. And you want to tell me that wasn't what the war was about? And I'll show you the Declaration of Secession from South Carolina. Number one issue is slavery. That's sure as hell why they were killing us, because they wanted to keep slavery. That's how they recruited their people. Those white men, 200,000-300,000 that died to free black men. I think maybe that's one of the things that Michelle Obama could have been proud of before her husband became president. She said she was never proud of this country before her husband became president. I think maybe that could have been one of the things she could have been proud of. Now, I wish she'd have been proud of something that didn't have to do with race. That might help too. You know, like, let's say like delivering Europe from Nazism with young men mostly, but some young women leaving themselves in graves in Europe to save others. No other country does that. Didn't take any land for it. Why am I dealing with them? Hopefully yesterday's or the day before. So we're down to now the House. So I have a projection here, which is a little different than others, and Ted may not. Ted had a little different one, so we'd work with this one. This is the 270 to win thing, and they have it right now as 176 definite Democrats, 185 definite Republicans. Then when you put in the likely to be and the leaning, you end up with more Democrats. You end up with 210 Democrats and 207 Republicans. That leaves 18, of which the Dems only have to get 8, and we have to get 11, right? So, and there are 18. Now, I have right here a list of how those races stand. So Republicans are ahead by more than 1 point, let's say. Well, let's say ahead at all. Some of them are like 0.9 and some of the 6%. So Republicans are ahead in those 18 outstanding races. In 1, that's in Arizona. 2, that's in Arizona. Then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So Republicans are ahead in 12 of the remaining 18, and Democrats are ahead in 6 of the remaining 18. So if they go the way the present vote is, the Republicans will have 222 votes, and they've got 2 or 3 to spare. So that's the projection on which they project. So that's a loose projection that the Republicans will keep the House. Now, there are some vagaries to that. So, you know, you'd much rather see that. You'd much rather see that in. Now, here are some of the strange things about that. I mean, some of them are like pretty big, like 6% and 4% and 5%. And then some are pretty small, but they seem like they're down near the end. And 3%. Why is it taking so long? They've already counted the presidential. Like Ryan Zinke, for example, who was a cabinet member, right, is running against Monica Tranel in Montana's 1st district. And he's ahead by 3.2%. And it's virtually down to the wire, down to the end. I don't understand why that one isn't called. Here's one, Anna Paulina Luna, who is in Florida, which has finished, you know, now for 2 days, the presidential count. She's ahead by 8%, Ted. I don't see how that doesn't get called.
Right.
Marionette Miller Meeks is ahead by 6.9%. 6%. Lauren Boebert now, who of course is controversial. Not to me. I like Lauren a lot. She's ahead by only 0.2%. Basically, the voting has stopped. It's over. I think they've counted all the votes. I think they just don't want to give it to her because it's so close.
Colorado.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is a heavily Democratic. It is a heavily Democratic. It is a heavily Democratic state, but the president won that district by 8%. So it should pull her in. But it is. I mean, it is close. It's 0.2%. But then the rest of 6.4, 6.4, 1.5, 3.0, 4.6, 4.8. There are enough solid ones so you can squeak by. I mean, you can have a bare majority, which would be better than not, but very weak also. So we'll see. The presidential race, of course, is over, but for the counting and the analysis. What happened? Oh, my goodness, many things happened, right? So I see it as we stopped the march of communism, and now we get a chance to push it back. And I do hope the Democrats take some lessons from this, because they got a drubbing, really, at the presidential level. And they really were very, very, I mean, this sounds funny, but they're really bad to the American people. I mean, when they used those words like deplorables and garbage and Nazis, and we don't have any. I mean, okay, maybe we've got some nut jobs that walk around with shaved heads or whatever they do, or not. We don't have Nazis in this country, and we don't have a lot of racism. There are not a lot of Americans who hate other people based on race. It seems to me that they're the last remaining group that spends so much time thinking about race. Yeah. That's all they do. Everything is racial. And when it isn't racial, I mean, who the heck throws around words like misogynistic and homophobic and blah, 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 blah. Look, and this Hitler thing goes back to Goldwater. They accused Goldwater of being Hitler. They accused Nixon of being a fascist. They accused Reagan of being a fascist, as well as Hitler. They accused me of it when I was mayor. They did little paintings of me looking like Hitler. Or how about the Italian one? How about call me Mussolini? I mean, if I were Hitler or Mussolini, it would really be terrible, because I was the most effective mayor in the history of the city. Please find one that was more effective. Find one that reduced crime more. Find one that moved over 500,000 people out of welfare with 500,000 working. Find one that actually produced surpluses when handed a budget that was monstrously out of balance. Or find one that got New York City in a very short period of time from one of the most dangerous cities in America to the safest, and then also to one of the big economic engines in the country, so that we were on the front page of the New York Times as the reawakening of the Big Apple, because they had measured, and when my predecessor Dinkins was there, who they all love, and he was wonderful, and he really started it all. Except they had a thing saying the rotting of the Big Apple. And he left me with 2,000 murders, a $2 billion deficit, and no furniture in Gracie Mansion. I don't know.
And all his praise was largely because he was black, I guess, right? In a Democrat city.
Yeah, and he was a crook.
And he was a crook.
Yeah,
that's the part they don't tell.
Yeah. He got $1 million or more for his share of inner city broadcasting, which he voted to himself on the Board of Estimates.
So you only get that here on America's Mayor Live.
Yeah. Nobody else will say that. Nobody else will say that. The U.S. attorney didn't prosecute him because he was afraid there'd be a race problem, and there probably would have been at that time, because that's when the Reverend Al was really stoking up like pogroms against Jewish people, and now a mere figment of that Al, big fat Al, is now appears. So you're hard to see him now.
Yeah.
but when he was stoking pogroms and riots and burning down his office when the IRS came for their records, um, and destroying the life of a very, very fine prosecutor with Tawana Brawley fraud.
Yeah.
And has anybody ever asked the Reverend Al where he went to the seminary? Don't you have to?
Where did he preach?
Did he have a church?
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
you're a lifetime New Yorker like me. Do you ever remember like
What was he preaching?
the Church of the Holy Payoff or something like
That's
that?
probably where. Yeah. The
Church of the Kick.
Holy Tax Evasion.
Yeah, the Church of the Holy Tax Evasion, or kick back to God. Kick back to God. I used to call Sharpton the poor man's Jesse Jackson. Jesse went and shook down the big companies, and he picked on the small ones. Then there was that time in which he had no income, but he was supporting. People just gave. No one knew quite how he. I think that's about the time the IRS came and he burned his record. They were always afraid to prosecute him too, because, oh my God, what might happen if you're a prosecutor? I think that's racist if you don't prosecute somebody because you're afraid that they're black or they're white, or I don't think it matters much. Once a racist, always a racist. That's the way you think. You start thinking in terms of. I mean, look at Biden. I don't know if we've ever had a president in modern times as racist as he is. I'm not going to send my kids into the jungle. You're not black if you don't vote for me. I graduated from. I went to a black college. I don't want to put my kids in the jungle.
How many points would you say race baiting has lowered the IQ point level of American people?
I mean, since Obama?
Yeah.
Obama really rejuvenated it, and on purpose, I believe. As I said on the other show, he was a student of communism, a very serious student of communism, and therefore had to have read the works of Gramsci, which in the last century, he wasn't the one who found it, but he's the one who wrote most eloquently about it, that communism was banging its head against the wall in the United States. It had infiltrated, it had destroyed the peace after the Second World War and helped to create the Cold War by its very, very, very bad influence on Roosevelt. But it wasn't making any progress at its mission to divide us according to wealth or lack thereof. Proletariat, a bourgeois, and a group of communists, followers of Marx, said, race will work in America. Identity will work in America. Let's make it an identity society. Let's get rid of merit. Let's get rid of decency. Let's get rid of God. Let's get rid of parents. And let's do it based on merit. Then we'll control them. And now here's the next step in communism that Marx doesn't write about, but always happens. But he knew it would happen. They all become millionaires, and you get very poor.
Yeah, what happened then?
So this idea, I mean, a lot of kids. I was talking to one youngster who said, "Well, socialism is attractive because everybody gets the same." I said, "Who is the richest man in China?" Well, I don't know. Xi Jinping. Who's the richest man in Russia? Putin.
And who benefited from Black Lives Matter?
Patrice Clores. Oh. She became a millionaire.
Yeah.
All those other people on Black Lives Matter who got arrested, because they did all get off, even if they burned buildings, unlike the J6 people that didn't burn anything. You remember a fire on January 6th? Jeez, I remember the whole city of Minneapolis burning down.
They lost the police precinct. Literally lost the precinct.
Yeah, disgraceful.
We'd never let that happen.
And probably, I would never let it happen. No person with the slightest bit of courage would ever let that happen, or honor. Giving up a police precinct in the middle of a major, might as well give him the city. And did that lead to similar action in other cities by similarly minded criminals? Of course. And was that whole thing organized? Yes. And was it funded by the same person that funded Antifa, which had a hell of a lot to do with January 6th? Not investigated, not uncovered. Knew it. If you want to go back and look at my podcast, they took me off the air over it.
truth right now. I don't know if the people can handle this. This show is
Yeah.
saying too much truth right now. I don't know. Can you handle it out there in TV land?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's too much, but I do think we got a major change 2 days ago. And I think the Democrats, in a way, delivered it to us. The Democrats decided to try Donald Trump in the press and in the media. Those two last dumps by Smith were sure indications of it. Unheard of for a prosecutor to write up a report about his case and give it to the public. Because the public doesn't decide the case, the jury does. So why did they do that? And why did Fannie bring her case? Well, part of it was to, steal some money from the state so she and her boyfriend could go off and have very fancy vacations on your dime. She picked the guy to do it. He didn't know a damn thing about the racketeering. The guy had to go to school to learn about the racketeering statute, and they gave him $1 million. And they want to put us in jail, and she's walking around. They still want to put us in jail in Georgia. Well, they can't put him in jail anymore. He's the president. But they want to put me in jail and Mark Meadows and about 18 other people. And she stole money from her from a campaign account, and she got elected as the DA. I don't know what the hell else she did. I mean, those are things we found out about. Right? The part of the case has already been dismissed, the elector part of the case. So I don't know what's going to happen with the rest of it. It's a travesty. It's not just a travesty of justice. It's a complete evisceration of the role of an attorney and the Sixth Amendment. I mean, everything done there was done on behalf of representing Donald J. Trump. And all of it had support, some of which has been doctored. Nobody wants to pay attention to it. Ted and I have been trying. We discovered it. We discovered in my bar association proceeding that there was a 3-hour gap in a 12-hour tape. Now you say, well, 12-hour tape. There are 4 versions of the counting of the ballots in the center. And about 2 hours actually and 40 something minutes are missing. And they just happen to be the most relevant periods where the things that they say I am lying about are on the tape.
That's just coincidence.
But there's enough preserved on the tape so that you can see that what I'm telling is the truth. We'll have to get it out and show it to you. The judge the hearing officer in my bar association proceeding just barely stopped looking at her cell phone to hear this and didn't seem at all upset that there was a doctored tape. I mean, any other judge that wasn't the product of the Democratic machine who knew that if she ruled for me, she'd never get another cushy appointment. See, this was a retired judge, and they get appointed to hear things. This is how they make their living. And it's all run by the Democratic county leader. Remember that girl who sat next to Engeron on the bench, a woman that sat occasionally people thought she was sitting on his lap. She was an operative of the Democrat of the lowest levels of the Democratic Party in Brooklyn. That gets pretty low. And she was doing things in her spare time, like making contributions to them, collecting money for them, getting petitions for them. She was clearly a campaign worker. So she was there the way the Communist Party supplies an agent to make sure that Engeron did his job and screwed Trump. Now, if Engeron didn't screw Trump, he'd never get reappointed. And if Marchand didn't screw Trump, he'd never get reappointed, and his daughter wouldn't have made $500,000. And then he ended up accepting a non-unanimous verdict. Now he's talking about dropping the case. It's not a case. It's a travesty of justice. So is mine. Well, we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock. We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
One, you're back.
Well, this is Rudy Giuliani back again with America's Mayor Live. And here is the fearless Ted Goodman.
Fearless. I'll take that from you, Mayor.
Fearless, man. He was on that floor of that convention with all those crazy Republicans who had lost. Oh, I don't mean violent or anything, but they were just so happy. I thought they were going to kill you out of happiness.
Oh, we were all hugging and kissing. I don't know. Can you die from too many hugs?
Yeah,
and kisses?
sure. Particularly if it's a big gorilla doing it.
Well, I have some exciting news, Mayor, and we'd like to get your reaction.
Of course, I would love to. I'd love to react. Get surprised.
I don't. So is he the president and the president-elect? How do I when the
This is very. Well, of course, go ask Grover Cleveland.
Yes, that's it. I'm gonna go.
There is a chance he voted because he's a Democrat.
Yeah, vote early and vote often, and
vote after you're dead.
And vote after you're dead. Well, so the president, the 45th, the now 47th, soon to be 47th president, President Trump has made.
I think we should call him president-elect. I really do. I think so because that's the newest thing he's going to be.
Yeah.
So it does, and it also sort of gets people ready for what's going to happen.
That's right.
If you just say president stuff, we always well, no, I think they started with him, former president. I never remember I mean, I knew some of the presidents. I'm not trying to drop names, but I would see President Bush quite a bit. President Bush
loves you.
Yeah,
loves you. Oh, the junior does.
President Bush the elder. I referred to him for years as President Bush, and even President Reagan. I was on the board, and President Reagan in the last years, but I always referred to him as. I didn't say to Mrs. Reagan. Well, I'm going to get a letter. I got a letter from Bibi Netanyahu about his contribution to their missile defense. I didn't say, Bibi, could you give me a letter for former president? They don't call me former mayor.
They don't. But here's the thing. It's funny that you bring this up, Mayor. Every once in a while, when I'm corrected, when I refer to you as the mayor, because that's what I do, right? The mayor. Whenever someone corrects you, don't you mean former mayor? I know where that conversation is headed, right? I know whether they're a fan of yours or not at that point.
That's all
happens very rare.
Like, how many judges do I know? Too many. I call the retired ones judges.
I don't say judge.
I don't say retired.
And I've taken that from you. These guys, I don't even know their names. Judge Weinberg.
Yeah.
I do know. I mean, I do know their names, but I've only heard
the judges who
judge.
represented me.
Judge. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Judge Kamens, Judge Leventhal. I know these guys as judges.
Former judge. Hello, former judge.
Former judge. Yeah. Do we have to listen?
That was made up for Trump.
This doesn't sound right.
It was made up for Trump, but it's funny because every once in a while you get a reporter or something and they'll say former Mayor Giuliani, and oh gosh, do we know where this is headed? But I want to make an exciting. I want to report to you something very exciting. I think you'll be happy to hear this. I want to get your live reaction.
Good. I could use some happiness today.
President Trump has named his incoming chief of staff,
John Kelly.
yeah, John. Oh my goodness! Can you imagine?
I feel silly today. I'm sorry. I had such a good time in court.
I wonder how John Kelly's feeling today.
I'm sure he finds a way to justify all of his lying to himself. I think he seems to me to be a very, very self-righteous guy. Certainly a control freak of the worst kind. I mean, I liked John Kelly until I saw the way he treated people, among them my son. But he was one strange dude. I mean, the idea that he lied about Trump, I am 100% sure of. First of all, I know Trump forever. He never would have said those things.
Yeah.
And number two, I knew and advised the president after it was over to get a political advisor in the White House. I said because he got double crossed. Kelly told him he didn't have to go to Normandy. It was going to be bad weather and nobody's really going to go. And I said, gee, if you had a political advisor like Clinton did and like Obama did and like Reagan did or like I did, every once in a while would say, hey, Mayor, you got to go.
Yeah.
Don't listen to that guy. You got to go. I mean, you don't go. You want to get reelected? Go. I remember that happening once. I was really tired and there was something coming up and I didn't want to go. And I think I probably wanted to watch a Yankee game. And I don't know if it was Peter Powers or Tony Carbonetti or who used to watch my political backside said, Mayor, you like being mayor? I said, yeah. Well, then get up off your ass and go. Man,
what I would do to be a few years older and to be around Mayor Giuliani back when you were mayor, man, would that have been amazing, right? And a lot of you, I'm sure, watching follow the mayor during
but I
those
become
years.
a crook now.
Oh gosh,
I
please.
defame people. I lie all the time. How come whenever these things get finally resolved, I'm always ending up telling the truth? Telling the truth
10
about
out of 10
Russian
times.
collusion, telling the truth about Ukraine, telling the truth about the hard drive.
And
17 months of being a Russian spy. And then when they raided my apartment and my law office, it was the press constantly. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's smoke,
love that
there's
line.
fire. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Except there was no fire. They had to write a letter to the grand jury. Prosecutors did say,
And they did.
there was no probable cause that he committed a crime. Not that there was no probable cause that he committed a
And
crime.
I'm sure the press was all over that announcement.
Yeah,
And it was out there in the front. And that was front page news, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe last
Probably-
page, bottom of the last
Probably
page.
taken off Google.
Yeah, you probably couldn't find it on Google, right?
That's what I want to know.
And
Or you will not find it on Wikipedia either.
Wikipedia, and that's something else. And that's too bad. I used to go to Wikipedia for stuff, and you can't anymore. That thing is
Well, Susie Wiles.
Mayor. That's right.
Great
Susie
choice.
Wiles,
Great choice.
named
We know-
chief of staff.
We know
for
Susie
President
for
Trump.
a long, long time when she won Florida for Trump in the primaries way back in 2016, won Florida for him in 2016 election when it was tough to win Florida.
Right, good.
Before
When the entire-
Florida turned into a
Now it's Trump country.
a mega MAGA.
Well, yeah, now it's like I mean, my goodness, I didn't think a state could be that.
I don't even think the voting is correct.
Have you
And
met
all
a
the
Harris
time I've
supporter?
now been living in
Yeah.
Florida and then going there, I only met one person who voted against Trump.
Right, and that's the thing. It's because they don't like Trump. I don't think I've met.
And he
one
told me, and he
actual Harris
came up
supporter.
to me to apologize that he made a mistake. And he said the ballot was actually. Let me give them kudos on the way they run an election. Much smoother than New York. The ballot's easier to understand. The people are much
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I mean,
We had two different experiences with
But-
voting down there. You
yeah,
went and voted.
yeah.
But getting back to this
And
selection,
then we waited for Gabrielle
Yeah.
and
Gabrielle,
yeah.
but getting back to the selection, Mayor,
and the president.
Yeah, the president.
and this is
Who
obviously
was on the phone with us
Yeah,
about 5 minutes beforehand.
Mr. President. Oh, well, let me just tell you one more. Oh, I got to put my shirt on. Let me just tell you one more thing.
So getting back to the selection, of course, this is the first major key pick of the Trump-Vance transition.
A good pick. Well, look, the first key pick was Vance.
Yeah.
Tell me that wasn't a great pick.
My
And
goodness.
contrast that with her pick.
Yeah.
Well, we're not,
gosh.
we're not going to get nasty yet.
No.
We'll go back to getting nasty
Well-
at some point. But right now, we're going to be
Who
magnanimous
taught you that?
winners.
How to be a
Magnanimous
winner?
winner.
Yeah.
Everybody. My father, Judge
Mother.
McMahon, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to be gracious in victory. So we're going to be gracious.
Well, in a way, and
I
you
just-
lived it. Well, you lived it too. I'm saying
Oh.
who taught you this? You lived it.
all I
You
wanted.
won the biggest.
all I want to say is, without all of the things about that we've said during the campaign about the governor of Minnesota, you got to say that Vance was a much better pick.
My goodness. Especially considering what Vance was up against. Immediately when he selected, they started to demonize him, right? They smeared him.
No, and they
came up with the most
started to
ridiculous
glorify.
jokes.
They
If-
started to
Did they?
glorify Walls until they found out that oh God, it was one day after another.
So, oh my, right? And then the media couldn't even, all right, we can't do this anymore. So they just
Jesus.
stopped talking about him. They
Somehow,
just kind of stopped
somewhere-
talking about him.
Somehow, somewhere, she found another Joe Biden.
Isn't it? It's amazing.
It's a bunch of Biden.
It must have been like that was like the Democrat consultant class on the coast. They look at this guy and they think, you know what, this is what appeals to Midwestern America. Tim Walz, right? It was amazing.
So now, Ted, tell me about Michigan. How is it? I mean, I just thought if Trump won by the kind of margin, I thought if Trump won by more than just, less than 1% or
Yeah.
something like that,
Yeah.
he was going to bring in.
Yeah.
Now he did do that.
That's right.
He did do that in several states, right?
Yep.
We'd have to say he brought Casey in. He brought McCormick in again. So I looked the day before the election. I looked at all the polls for a year at Real Clear Politics. There wasn't a single poll where McCormick led for the last 10 months.
Wow.
Until 2 days before the election, or 3 days when McCormick tied him, and then McCormick went ahead. I mean, this was really like a horse being in last place.
You're not doing that without the endorsement.
This was like a horse in last place.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden comes up in the last furlong of the race.
Yeah. So Michigan president, I'd like to see the current margin. I think most of the votes are in. President Trump wins big, and of course the Senate race goes to the Democrat. And I want to talk more about that specific race between
Close
and
though.
very close.
Yeah.
Mike Rogers ran a fine campaign. By all accounts, he's a good man. Slock, look, Michigan down ballot in a lot of places remains Democrat. Alyssa Slotkin,
And she ran with
enjoys-
Trump, and she did that same thing that they all did. Man, that had to be a killer.
Yep.
That had to subtly really hurt
Harris.
Kamala when
man.
a
The
lot
Senate
of her
candidate.
Senate people like Casey kept running ads about all the things where he agreed with Trump.
Yeah.
Trump, the guy is going to take away democracy.
Yeah.
The guy is going to be Hitler.
He's Hitler. And then you got the Senate candidates
now,
running.
here's Hitler, and you got Casey,
Praising him.
Slotkin, Tester.
I'm sure Tammy Baldwin was out there saying something nice in Wisconsin.
Oh, they all were.
Yeah.
They ran ads.
Jackie Rose.
They ran ads with the things they agreed with Hitler on.
Yeah.
Something fundamentally changed.
So
right?
so that's interesting, Mayor, right? You look at the 7 swing states, 5 of them had Senate races, right?
Right.
So in the 5 swing states that had the presidential race, of course, and the Senate races, in 4 of the 5 states, Trump won, of course, all 5, but the Democrat won the Senate race, right? So let's look at Arizona. Well, Arizona and Nevada haven't been called yet, but Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Those are the 5 states we're talking about. Trump wins all 5 states. Unfortunately, it looks like Gallego's still ahead. Kerry Lake, I believe, can still pull it off, but it's looking more and more like the Democrat will win that Senate seat. Same with Nevada. Hovde's been declared the winner Baldwin's been declared the winner in Wisconsin, Democrat. Slotkin's been declared the winner in Michigan, Democrat. And the only place that hasn't been called for
Pennsylvania actually been called. They don't have it on this map, but Pennsylvania has been called
right.
for McCormick.
Well, but that's why it hasn't been called. When the Republicans leading close, they don't call it. When the Democrats leading close, they call it. That's kind of the rule. So Pennsylvania and Nevada's been called as well, it looks like, unfortunately. Sam Brown, great candidate. Pennsylvania, the only one of the 5 where the Senate candidate was able to win. Now, I guess with Wisconsin and Nevada, those were Democrat incumbents. So they enjoy the power of the incumbency in the Senate. That's 6 years. So that's a powerful position to be in. Michigan had an open seat with Stabenow retiring, which is why I think even the NRSC and the Republican Party thought that'd be a real potential place for a pickup. And we were just that close. I believe Rogers is only down 20,000 votes, maybe. That's gotta hurt. I'd rather lose by 1 million.
So in
Maybe not.
in Michigan, they took like 3 or 4 more days to count the presidential ballots than this. If we were to take 3 or 4 more days, would Rogers win? Is that the way you win? You take more days?
For the Democrats, it appears that way. But Mayor, because of all your work and the work of great patriots like you, I truly believe some of the Democrat tactics, they were unable to.
Yeah, well, he won every state that we contested, didn't he? He won Georgia, right? And he won Pennsylvania, and
North
he
Carolina,
won Michigan. But we didn't contest North Carolina.
Oh, Senate. We're talking about Senate.
No,
Yeah.
I'm saying all the ones that we contested,
Where there were Senate races and
when we
presidential.
were illegally representing Donald Trump in his quest to vindicate his legal rights.
Mhm.
But I'm not supposed to do that for him.
Oh no,
If he says they stole the election from me, and witnesses come to me and say, "Gee, I walked in and they said they voted for me," or I was in Detroit and they sent me to a school and they taught me how to fix ballots and I went ahead and did it, or another person comes and says I'm an expert and they've got all these people on the rolls that don't live in the state any longer, and look at all the ones that voted. I'm supposed to say I don't believe you because NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, they all say you're lying. Well, I never met them. Well, but that's okay, because if I agree with you, they can take my law license away.
How many votes does Kamala Harris have? Something like 68, 69 million?
Yeah, you're wondering how did he get 80?
Oh,
81.
Biden, right, got 81 million votes.
I got people calling me on the phone that don't even really know politics that well, and they're asking me the same question.
Yeah.
People are figuring that out for themselves, regular people.
Well, you know why it was? So many people didn't go to rallies for Biden that they were very well rested. So they all came out on when he would have those rallies with the circles, remember?
Yeah.
With the little circles. And
Wasn't that amazing?
he'd walk in there.
What is that amazing?
And half of them were Trump people who were harassing him.
Or actually, all of them were just press. Actually, I think is what it was.
Boy, it was the
And then
biggest
Trump-
brain-
Our Trump people.
Then Trump showed up in a city in Pennsylvania that had a population of 40,000 with 60,000 people. And he won?
Yeah, somehow that guy won. He ran the damn thing.
Biggest mass brainwashing that has ever occurred in human history.
It's up. It's certainly
so
up there.
do you
It's certainly
think?
up there.
Do
Yeah,
you think?
right.
Let's get away from my case from it. But do you think Trump has meant, in a way, since I think we can all agree that the cases against him were political at this point, can't we? I mean,
100%.
look,
I mean,
they got
Jesus, from the beginning.
4 cases in 1 year.
Yeah.
None of them made any sense legally.
They really don't. They're falling apart. All of them.
They're all ridiculous cases.
Even before his victory.
They
were
wanted to
falling apart.
tie him up.
Yes.
They wanted to get him to be convicted felon.
They want that
They did.
label. That's all it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when they couldn't get the Smith case done in time, they just leaked the whole thing in a way totally unheard of in American justice.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury. The jury is not supposed to be prejudiced. I take a report beforehand and I put out all the evidence of your guilt. Among other things, I should not be allowed to try that case anymore because I've prejudiced the entire jury. And why did they do it? They did it like 6 weeks before the election and 4 weeks before the election. So I'm going to say, okay, you want to play that game, and they call it lawfare.
Yeah.
Lawfare has a different adjudication than regular law. Regular law gets adjudicated by a jury. Lawfare, you're doing it for politics, gets adjudicated by the public. Didn't they just decide he's not guilty by a majority vote?
That's right.
And since you can have non-majority votes now, like they did to convict him in New York, a majority vote has decided that he's not guilty. Those charges mean nothing to them.
They're all falling apart right now, and you've already seen some strong legal minds. I guess you can call them conservative, but to me they're just patriots, right? Who are coming out and starting to be even more vocal and against some of the rhetoric we're continuing to see from, for example, the Attorney General of New York, right?
Yeah.
From these folks, they won't let it up. They will not let up, which tells me that they're panicking, right? The way they're talking the last few days, some of these left-wing Soros-funded AGs, I don't know, Mayor. It tells me that they're panicking, right?
They are panicking, but I don't know. But I haven't been out there that much, and I haven't had a chance to.
Yeah.
This is just a feeling. I probably don't have the basis for it. I don't get the feeling there's the big ridiculous reaction there was in 2016.
Oh no!
No! Where they set up like safety rooms for the kids.
Oh
and
no!
they brought psychiatrists in and diapers.
Yeah.
And diapers
Yeah.
in for the 17 and 18-year-olds. They may have tampons. And
Well, remember the pink hat? Didn't they actually call it the pussy march?
Yeah, there was
Excuse
so
my
much
language.
crazy shit
Remember the
going
pink
on.
hat
What
march
happened?
after Trump won in 2016? Were you even aware of this? Or you're so busy with transition and the inauguration?
I remember it. The
But
hats.
yeah, they wore a pink hat.
That looked
right-
like a. I'm
They
not gonna say
marched
what it looked
right
like.
after inauguration. It was either the day of or the day before. was like a million. Do you remember this,
Oh, I
Mike?
remember.
The march against Trump, basically, right? And
I
in
remember
2016.
reading.
Oh,
I,
the inauguration?
Yeah,
The
it was-
Women's March?
yeah, it was ridiculous. It
I
never,
remember
man, it was
reading
ridiculous.
The day before, or the day after the inauguration, some congressman who promised to impeach him. He didn't know
I think it
why.
might have been Talib. I know Talib was early on that.
He did-
For no reason.
Oh, the guy I know who you're talking about too. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to impeach him.
Well, Madonna wanted to blow up the White House. Right?
Oh, there's a lot of that rhetoric. Yeah. Well, Mayor, maybe we should. And wow, before we go, and speaking of coffee,
Yes.
what time we've been up since when?
What?
We've been up since what time?
4:30.
4:30
a.m.
4:30. Where did we wake up?
West Palm Beach, Florida.
With
Where are
one
we
day's
now?
with 1 day's notice.
With like hours notice. Where are we now?
Yeah.
We're in Brooklyn, New York.
Do you know what?
And where are we gonna be tonight?
And the judge wouldn't give us a few days.
Yeah. But on a serious note, and I'll make it short. You hate when I do this. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for continuing to stand up for what's right and to keeping up the fight. What some of these folks are putting you through is absolutely unconscionable. My father is a judge. I have a family of lawyers and judges and people who respect the rule of law, including Democrats. And my goodness, if they're
I wish a few of them were in New York and they were judges.
that's what I'm saying. It's just absolutely incredible. So I just want to say thank you so much, Mayor, for continuing this fight. And we're just getting started.
Well, I just have to say one thing. I do not understand how an experienced judge can treat $145 million judgment and take even a brief look at the facts of the case and not realize there's a good chance of it's being reversed or a chance.
Yeah.
So why have them sell off all my property beforehand? Now you say, well, I can get the money back, and I can't. I can get the money back. Maybe. These women have no money. I don't know if I'll get the money back. But all right. But I can't get the property back. I can't get back my grandfather's watch that's 135 years old and he brought from Italy. I can't get back the things that were given to me by 9/11 people. I can't get back some of the things that were given to me by people that were in Afghanistan. I can't get those things back. I can't get back what was given to me by a widow of a 9/11 victim. I can't get them back. I can't replace them. The stuff that's worth money, I'm not even fighting over. And the judge, you heard him in court. The watch doesn't mean anything. It's my grandfather's watch, and it doesn't mean anything.
Handed to a bodega owner or something. What was that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he should have let the poor bodega owner have the one thing that's important to him. In fact, they have damn exemptions in there that my lawyers just didn't pick up and didn't make the exemptions on time. So I don't get the exemptions. The exemptions allow you to have one car less than 5,000. Well, my lawyer didn't ask for the exemption. So I'm an 80-year-old guy with a bad knee. I have one car. No, I don't. I have no cars.
Well, cars are my specialty. I'm going to make sure you have a car no matter what.
What? They just froze another bank
It
account.
has to be. I can get a pretty damn nice car.
Well, I'm not
for
sure.
$5,000.
I'm not sure how I pay my bills. They freeze bank accounts. They froze my corporate accounts until I got it open. They tried to ruin my business. This isn't, as my lawyer says, this isn't a case. This is a cause, and it's an evil cause.
Absolutely.
And the cause is now the ladies want the money, 145 million. I did not lie about them. They just won't let me prove.
You were never allowed. We never had the
And not only
opportunity
that,
to
they've
argue the
doctored-
facts of the case.
they've
We never had the
doctored-
chance to argue the facts
And
of the case.
they've doctored the main tape, for which somebody should go to jail, not me. I didn't doctor the tape. I wouldn't doctor the tape. I mean, and I do have a little piece of it that shows they did what I said, or one of them did. And nobody wants to see that.
Is
Nobody
there
wants
still
to
a
look
chance
at
in the
it.
future that can be, that
Yes,
evidence
we're
can be
hoping
shown?
on appeal it'll get
Good.
reversed.
It's gonna
But here's
happen.
the point.
The tide is changing.
If you looked at that case carefully, you'd say at least he's got a chance on appeal. So why don't I put his property in escrow, and particularly the part that's sentimental
Yeah.
and important. And if he owes him 145 million and he's got to give it up. But if it turns out it's reversed or the judgment is reduced, which is very likely it's going to be reduced, you got to be nuts to think they can get 145 million just practically.
Right. They're never going to get that.
Maybe he doesn't have to give up something that has to do with September 11th or Afghanistan or his grandfather. Even the Joe DiMaggio jersey that was given to me by Joe himself. Well, to tell you the truth, got to give it up. I'll give it up. It's worth it.
Right. To be
I don't think, and I don't think
yeah.
they'd ever think this way because they lost it.
Maybe Joe DiMaggio would have said
They lost it. No, they lost it. I'm talking about the judges and the lawyers, and they've become such political partisans, and they just lost it completely. To really take this case as seriously
I can't. Yeah,
as they're taking it
it's unfathomable.
is crazy.
unconscionable.
Any sensible lawyer would say 145 million.
And, please,
Come
if
on, that
we-
was a
we
political
need some-
verdict. Even if you didn't even look at the facts of the case,
148 million.
145 million dollars.
45, 48.
Maybe, I don't know, whatever. I mean, the difference between 45 and 48 is not the part that's killing me. It's the part over about 8 million that kills me. And it's not that I don't have money. I don't have 148 million dollars. So even with a verdict that is astoundingly irrational, the guy is going to try to crush me before they have the case affirmed on appeal. Never mind.
Well, they're going
I'm
to
probably going to get myself in a lot of trouble doing this. But after a while, it just gets to be too much. And I really did think that the American people delivered a verdict on all this. And I'm very happy about that. And therefore, I'm very, very happy for my contribution to it. If that's the price I got to pay, that's okay. I'm happy with myself.
You're the
and with my country and with all the people that have called me and appreciate it.
And we all learn from watching it. So
and you personify what it means to be an American patriot. You really do.
Well, I love the country more than anything.
That's so obvious.
And
you don't have
I
to
did
say
it.
it. You
And
show it with
you
your
know
actions.
why I did it. I'm very close to Donald Trump. I really do feel he was terribly treated.
Absolutely.
But also, beyond everything else, I was his lawyer. I would have to give him the benefit of the doubt on all these things and argue for him.
That's what lawyers
And
do.
you never had the opportunity to argue the facts of that.
No, I just shut up all the time. You were at that trial.
Yeah, I was. Jesus. Well, with that, we should take a quick break.
And we'll be right back, and then we'll close because we have to get on a plane and get back to
Sunny,
we have to go back. I'm sorry, Mike.
Oh, that's
we
so
have to go
sad.
back to a free state.
It's so hard to say. We're here in New York. We gotta get out of
we
here.
have to leave the Democrat/communist dictatorship of New York, where the judges in the court that acted unfairly to Trump, and that's a different court now, not the one I'm talking about now, and me, because we've had that there too, were appointed by Democratic hacks.
So we'll be right back.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. Here we are in Brooklyn, and we're going to be leaving in a short while. And I want to make sure I covered, because we did get off on the race and the case, and I want to make sure that we covered all the things that I wanted to get through to you today, so that you're not deprived of information in the news that often happens. You know, we brought you up on the Senate and the House where they are. Senate definitely Republican. House most likely to be Republican. Maybe you could say definitely, but I do think it's sensible to be a little bit cautious about that. Bibi, you see, fired his defense minister, who has been canoodling, conniving, and double-crossing Israel with the people who knife Israel in the back, namely the Biden-Harris administration, who, if they had their way, none of those leaders of Hamas or Hezbollah would have been killed because Israel would have had a ceasefire. 8 months. Actually, Israel would have had a ceasefire before they invaded. Zelensky called Trump, and I imagine he's now going to deliver over all the files that show the vast corruption of the Biden people, as well as the offshore accounts that the accountant of Burisma says are available, but the FBI never interviewed her to find. Do you think he's going to do that, Zelensky? And do you think he will ever reveal the evidence of the massive theft from his people by the former president, who took a very, very big bribe? Many, but I know of one. I don't know. And do you think that we should still continue to give money to Zelensky when he is basically the creature of maybe the second or third most crooked oligarch in Ukraine? Now, nothing against the Ukrainian people, except for the fact you got to be a naive fool to think that all that money is getting to the war effort. And if you think, like McConnell, who's leaving, that we're really assured that it's all real straight because it going through the American, or much of it is going through the American military industrial enterprise, well, then you got to have forgotten that they passed the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act because of all of the massive corruption of that particular area, which Eisenhower warned us about. McConnell. Oh, and by the way, what was that $5 million you got from your Chinese father-in-law who gets all his money from Red China? And all that stuff about Trump, xenophobic, because what Trump is concerned about is all that money that your wife's or your father-in-law gets from Red China, and he's Taiwanese. That's a tough one to explain, McConnell. Really a tough one to explain. You're the next chapter in the book after Biden. Maybe if they ever get to him, they'll get to you. And maybe that's why you did everything you could to protect him, huh? We got a couple of our own people that need a good looking at, don't we? Well, there's a great column in the Post today. I don't have time to go over it, but I am going to recommend it to you by Ricky Schlott about masculinity. And will it be reinvented? Will we have masculinity again? At least that's the way I read it. I tell you what, you read it, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. I thought it was a very good piece, and and Ted and I, we did read it on the plane while we were snoring, right? But Ted and I weren't sure we knew exactly what she meant by it, right? I think we got most of it, and we'll read it again now that we're more awake, and maybe I'll get it. But I was actually going to try to get her on, and I would also, even if I didn't, I was going to bring up some of the questions in it. And then I also want to talk to you about another concept that's really important, and we'll need time for it, and that is, should you prosecute people for hate speech? And I tell you, it's a trick question, because it'll tell me if you really understand the First Amendment, which is a toughie. First Amendment's a toughie. It's a little like the prodigal son. You stay tuned tomorrow, and I'll show you how the First Amendment and what it really means is a little like the prodigal son. Okay. Well, let's pray for the people of Ukraine and people of Israel, who I think now that we're on our way to having a real president, might be delivered from the massive casualties, particularly in Ukraine, that existed. Although, look, a life is a life, and the 1,200 Jewish people, if you look at it per capita, it was much bigger than the attack of September 11, and it was a pure terrorist attack. And let's pray for the people of Iran, because I really feel you're going to see a lot happen now in Iran that was hidden from you. And I no longer have to pray for God to give you wisdom. You have it, huh? Boy, I'm so proud of the people of America. Aren't you guys?
Oh, yes. It was like Christmas morning when
Yeah.
Trump got elected, man.
Yeah. It's like, it's
Good
like,
analogy, Mike.
it's like really, really true that God lets us go way down a road and it looks like things are going to be, and then all of a sudden he intervenes and we get just the right person at the right time to get us through. Maybe because we're a good country, all in all. Some bad things every once in a while, but we fix our bad things. Few other countries have the thought that of more perfect union, that we're always striving for a more perfect union.
Yeah.
And that was put there by the same people that all these racists condemn as racist. Maybe they wanted to end slavery, and either they couldn't, or they didn't know how to, or they had irrational concerns, or maybe a few of them were racist. But a lot of them were very, very good men. And a lot of them who didn't move on slavery, like Jefferson, actually tried and then found other ways to bring down slavery, like putting a poison pill in the Declaration of Independence, which we'll talk about tomorrow. But if they want to take those statues down, I'm sorry, they got to change the name of the Democrat Party, because it had more to do with slavery than anybody I just mentioned. I think I say this as a prayer now, more than anything else, of thanksgiving. And I'm going to say, thank you, God, for blessing America. Good night.
To bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common